CC, you have other forms of setup. I'm actually not like amazingly stoked about this Zach pick, just because I feel like just with a support budget, I feel like you just get so much less out of your CC right now. The only thing that isn't making me like writhe, I guess, is the fact that you have FNB and Goot on a Cassante and Sejuani, so you're gonna be fine in terms of frontline. It's not like you're sacrificing that completely. But I just think Zach being alive as much as he is, you get a Radiant Virtue on him, the healing he can provide every time his ult goes down. That to me is where Zach shines.
And I think that is a fair point. You don't have as much gold as you'd have in other roles. But on the other hand, I would also argue that I think Zach comes online with just 2 items, right? You just go the support item, the gold generation item, plus one of those mythics you mentioned, and you're kind of good to go. The other thing to remember about Zach is his base damage is actually really high. That was why, for a while there, he had the highest win rate across, was it 4 different roles at the top, jungle, mid, and support? Yeah. So, yes, he has been slightly weakened since then, but he's still really, really solid. And we'll have to see if IU can pilot this, because if there's anybody in CBLOL I trust to still pull off his Zach support in this day and age, in this meta, in this patch, it's got to be IU, man.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, and they're not here to win lane necessarily, right? That's Titan's job. He's on, again, this Comet Varus. We haven't talked a ton about that. Scamber on the Aphelios. They're about to hit level 2, it seems like. Just getting a tower down, so maybe not necessarily. You do have one more thing to grab onto for your Q, for your stretching strikes there for Zach. That's not nothing. I only realized that very late into kind of my Zach playing in the jungle, that there are way more things that you can grab onto with your Q. It just makes it so much less frustrating and so much easier to not get kited out. But Goot, yeah, back on the Sejuani, Aegis back on the Maokai. Both these jungles have kind of taken a bit of a back seat in this game, and even in this series, because even though Goot had that Viego game, it was kind of a nothing burger until that last team fight.
Yeah, and even then, I'd argue you could have picked any jungler you wanted, just build a GA, and you had
exactly.
the same level of impact.
Exactly.
So, completely understandable. But I will say that I think for both Goot and Aegis here, these sort of quiet games is actually when they have looked best. Well, the caveat, of course, Viego, that's not ideal. But if you're on a Sejuani or a Maokai or an Amu and you have a quiet game, I quite like it. I think it's good. So this, to me, is ideal setup for both these junglers. What isn't ideal, as we mentioned before, is Furia's early game. We're seeing them lose out in both mid and bot right now, and that's to be expected. The push from this Heimer Varus is going to be very strong. The poke is very strong, and until IU gets a couple more levels where you can start to engage. In the jungle, we usually say level 5 for that level 3 slingshot. That's when you get the range. I'm not quite sure in support if it's the same way, but that's my benchmark for now. In the mid lane, Avenger just shoving in Envy, and the poke has been really, really solid. That's likely to continue, like we've mentioned before, till later on. And unfortunately, I don't think Goot can actually bail out Envy this game, because in the 2v2, Aegis can just deter it. You don't have to win it, you just have to stop it from happening. Scamber roaming out here.
Yeah, looking for just
he showed
a max rage turret. Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, throwing down the question mark ping there. His Envy got a little greedy there. Titan, but he might pay the price here now. Yep, and he's got Aegis to bail him out. I guess that was the thinking. Ignite down. That's green gun, baby. It's not that great for lane, but when that happens, it doesn't really matter. Blue-purple for Trigo. Gonna try to just chunk Aegis down a little bit. It is a 1-for-1, but that hurts if you're red, man.
Yeah, and first blood goes over to Trigo. IU not stealing the kills this time. Actually massive. And you're going to see an item discrepancy coming back in Trigo picking up the boots and Vamp Scepter compared to Titan's Serrated Dirk. Titan's going to be happy with that. The Serrated Dirk is much more impactful, but the boots, we have to keep an eye on that, because a lot of Aphelios' laning, the most important gun is actually not red-white. It's not Severum. It's not oh my goodness, I forgot on white again. Crescendum in the bot lane. It is actually Gravitum, and it's about spacing. It's about running people down. So that pair of boots is massive whenever there's Gravitum. And watch for Goot, or heck, watch for Envy roaming down to capitalize on that as well.
Let's get another look at it here. Yeah, Titan just stepped up a little too far, given that it was a 2v1. I don't know if he just didn't see IU, right, or thought that Aegis was going to be a little bit quicker on the way down.
Yeah, and the moment Scamber roamed out, this is way too early for first recalls from supports. So you're not expecting IU to have roamed up to mid to match Scamber as well. You just had to pay your respects in that bot lane. Varus, sure, you've got Flash, but that is still a Zac. Even worse, the Graviton was available the entire time. You knew that if you step up and you get caught, you are not getting away.
Yeah, Flash, neither Flash nor Cleanse available now for Titan. Goo level 5, gonna walk into no vision. Do they go for a dive here? Like you said, it's all about the Gravitum and the spray damage you can get from the blue gun as well. Envy Blue has Flash just now. Yeah, not exactly sure. I mean, maybe to get out of a gravity field there. Scammer flashing forward, gets the stun grenade down. Trigo in some trouble here. Doesn't have the healing from the red gun, just the damage and the CC, but it's not enough. Here comes the rest of Furia. IU will escape. Goot able to dissuade anything further on the support.
I love that Aegis is so much more proactive this time.
Oh, baby.
He's dead.
Yep, that will be Envy down with no Flash. Avenger taking advantage of that quietly. Again, continuing a very good series from Avenger.
Yeah, and this is massive now because Envy goes down here. Dragons open and available for red. Open and nope, they're all backing. All of them are backing here. They had the numbers of I'm going a little bit crazy here for red 4 because this is now the second game in a row. We've seen the team with the early lead not capitalizing on it and not going for these objectives. I know it's kind of minor, but given how last game went, it is a game of inches. Now, we do get to see how Envy's Flash got blown here, and it's just a gravity field. Envy, what you have to remember, the distance spell is that, yes, it does damage, but it can also be a speed boost for you. And a lot of times you'll see Oriana's pull the orb back, distance, run out of the gravity field. And because we're not seeing Envy do that, because the ball is always away, 2 times in a row, gravity field comes down, and Avenger just gets maximal poke.
Yeah, I thought maybe Envy had stepped out of that gravity field, right? But he's not going to risk it, knowing that he was a level down like that. But Avenger just effectively extended the trade, right? Said, all right, fool me once, shame on me. Not even fool me once. He flashed away. That's a valuable summoner spell to burn. He's able to trade a flash of his own to get himself that advantage, and now he's feeling really, really good. Up a kill, up a little bit of CS, just significantly stronger of the 2 mid laners right now. And look at this level advantage that Titan has. My goodness, up almost 30 CS RMC.
Whoa, wait, how did he get a 2-level lead on Trigo there? Like, I know Trigo died, but only one more time.
Titan's just CSing perfectly, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess they're just zoning out Trigo here. That is massive considering that Scamber's early roam as well. And that does mean that Furia have no business looking at this dragon whatsoever. Heck, Trigo has no business leaving his turret until he hits level 6 as well, because with that chain of corruptions, even with that cleanse here, it's just way too risky. And Maokai, Varus, Heimer, there is a metric ton of crowd control, hard crowd control that could kill you.
Yeah, and that's before we get into these later team fights where Bull is going to be a factor. Grabbing the cull initially here. FNB looking like with that Sheen going Divine Sunderer here, so not full tank, opting to shirk those responsibilities over to Goot and IU effectively. Not entirely sure how I feel about that, but I guess you need backline access, right? And your backline access to be meaningful. So FNB opting to do that.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, IU is going to be on a shoestring budget this game, so the Zac isn't going to be a backline threat whatsoever. It's more just CC disruption here. And FNB wants to win the 1v1. Ooh, great catch onto Avenger.
Yeah, and Avenger might be toast here. Well done. Goot didn't even have to blow the ultimate. Man, really good setup.
He just walked right into lane, popped that, and that comes from the flash blown on Avenger earlier, successfully killing Envy in the 1v1. So both junglers actually this game much more active.
Yeah.
I like that we're seeing that here. The laning has been the problem for Furia, and that honestly surprises me because I thought Furia actually had the better laners for the most part. The only lane where I thought Red might win out has been this bot lane, and Titan's not just winning it, he's crushing it, whereas Envy in the mid lane still losing, but able to CS in top side. Did even for now. I'm waiting for junglers to get involved top side. Both top laners have been level 8, and I think at least for Red, they want to isolate Bull as much as possible. He's on a call, 63 stacks. Just let the man farm. It's FNB who might want to call Good up there to make something happen.
Man, everyone not named Titan or that isn't a support separated by 300 gold from Trigo down there to Avenger.
Damn.
And then Titan up not a full 400. That's not even, like, that's a decent amount, right? That's not crazy. He's got himself a Yomu's right now. So he's got himself, he's the first champion to have an early power spike here. And you've seen what, with that lethality, these early arrows can do. You know, we criticized a little bit Furia drafting that for Trigo in game 1, but in the early and mid game, you saw how much damage those arrows did.
Yeah, and the big difference too is what mid laner you have paired with it. Furia did it with an Orianna. Again, burst damage, very low sustained. That came back to bite them. Red have Victor, a much better champion at pumping out sustained damage. Granted, Chaos Storm, the sustained damage is short. It's over a couple of seconds and then it wears out, but the laser cooldown's fairly low, same with those Qs, Titan and Scamber. Suspicious, because IU's been kind of missing there, and that should clue them in that, hey, watch out, Avenger. IU has actually left lane.
Oh, Goot right over the wall. Wow. What's on the menu? It is Avenger. Gets nothing out of that. Blew the flash, blew the ultimate. That feels really, really bad. Furia getting something back in the lane that was not going their way at all to start out.
And that, they committed 2 ultimates for it. I think as the game goes on, they don't need to blow 2 ultimates for that one 4x4. And Goot, Envy, IU. Here's the thing for Avenger. What could you have done? Avenger didn't do anything wrong. He was still pretty much under turret. He had flash up. And even if you're under turret, I think that dive just goes anyways. Furia can pull that on repeat every single time those ults are up.
Yeah, in credit, Goot, right, took a creative angle as well, right? But it's these little things, then it's okay. What do you get in response? And it's going to be this, right? Because like you said, no matter the circumstances, that probably happens. So you just have to be ready to counterpunch, and they do. They get a lot of gold onto 3 members. First tower goes over to red, 3-3 on kills, but they're up in dragons, up in towers, up in gold, up in heralds.
And to a very large extent, where the gold is going here, Envy for Furia, Titan for red. This is the matchup a lot of people were expecting from the regular season. The fact that Envy was the big carry for Furia. It wasn't Trigo pumping out the damage. It was Envy with the highest damage share. On red, it's always has been the Titan game all these years, all these splits here. And that's where all the gold is being funneled. I'm going to be honest, right now, this game with the champions they have, I favor red. I favor Titan being pumped full of gold. Envy getting rich, that's nice, but you get 1 shot. If you can land the shockwave on 5 members, he's a god. But we've seen it so many times. It's so difficult to land it on more than 1. And if it's just 1, Titan's just going to out-damage you throughout the fight.
Yeah, and I think the only kind of saving grace is that you have other carries, right? The composition looks more well-rounded. For not even other carries, but just other ways to start fights, right? The composition looks more well-rounded for Furia this time around. Red, they're kind of just drafting, more of the same, and it's worked for them, to be fair. But I think the only kind of different look we've seen here is Titan on the poke Varus here. Again, he played the Varus in game 2, but that was your on-hit, just AP Varus. Now Titan might be in some trouble here. Had the cleanse, opted for the flash instead to get out of the range of the initial Q1 of the stretching strikes. Ignite down, blows the commencing stopwatch. Chaos, gets the passive. There we go. And now Goot looking for the re-engage. That buys him some time. Aegis throwing out the twisted advance in response. Trigo getting the kill there onto Avenger. Titan laying down a bunch of damage. Goot doesn't have his ultimate, doesn't have flash, but just trying to run Titan down. FNB, if he could get in range for an all-out, he might go for it, but he's not able to. Titan using his range very effectively. Scamber has no ultimate, but he can throw out a little bit of damage to try to be disruptive. Aegis kind of just trying to do the same thing. Get something on the back end, because right now you're really not going to do much in terms of hard contesting a fight here. Goot is low. Aegis being zoned out.
Bull is coming.
This dragon's taking a long time to go out. Here does come Bull. Here comes IU as well. Aegis does go down. Envy got himself 3 kills in a row now after getting solo killed to start the game. Back on the front foot. And now Furia, they're going to punish red. They have overstayed their welcome. They have lost their jungler. They will lose their AD carry. Man, that just feels really bad. Sloppy from red.
Okay, I am sorry, Envy. I did not know your game coming into this. No, actually, but the joke is we do know Envy's Orianna, and it doesn't look this impressive, but in that fight, just constantly able to put the ball in and just poke and poke and poke. And I think Red just not respecting that, kind of just letting it happen. The initiation for the initial catch-up from Red is really, really solid. And what I want to highlight too is Scamber and Titan throughout this sort of engage, they get to just free poke. And sure, great, you killed Avenger in the mid lane, but he Chaos Stormed. His job was done. And you can see Furia struggled a little bit with the poke, and they were scared, and that's why the dragon took so long. But Furia actually played this really well. See how far they dragged out the dragon. And they know Titan's bot side, so they keep shading to the top side. They're not afraid of Scamber. They're not afraid of Aegis. And they're not afraid to take their own sweet time with the dragon when they can't walk in. And because it took so long, everybody starts to come back in here. And this is where, like, I just don't understand them not respecting Envy. You had a ward in the bush. You had vision on Envy. And you just let him walk in and out and land that ball over and over again.
Yeah, and I think on the back end is where it gets kind of unforgivable for me, right?
Yeah.
You lose the dragon. What are you fighting for, right? You lose a team member. Why are you fighting? FNB is there with an ultimate that can displace anybody. What are we doing? Just back off. This is not where you want to be, flipping these leads right now, right? Like, Titan can free poke, but like you said, he's dangerous. But Furia identified that and shaded up to the top side. I like that you pointed that out. Now, mythics are starting to come in. Bull's got himself that Trinity Force. Aegis with the Radiant Virtue. Items coming in kind of across the board here. And Envy, for all the plaudits we have rightfully given him, a little bit behind on power, but it doesn't seem to matter. Engage in. Goot immediately grabbing the ultimate there onto IU, onto IU and Red, able to pick up their first kill actually in response here. Trigo with the red-white. Goot getting chipped down low. Bull has the flash ult, but not going to try it. Trigo just barely will survive thanks to that Bloodthirster.
Okay, that was an interesting fight there. Envy actually flashing in had me really concerned for a second there. And that was kind of a point that we needed to make, is the fact that despite the fact Furia won that fight, they are not ahead in team fights. They are not ahead in gold. Oh, okay. That was close. Actually, no, wait, that's Titan. I thought that was Trigo's arrow for a second. It's like, wait, no, Trigo's not in the Varus this game. Titan able to just secure that one. And the item differential, Envy still had not completed his mythic in that fight. Cooldowns were back up. So as long as Red can find the fight again, they're good to go. And key was the fact that Aegis had his Radiant Virtue ready to go. This time they engage, they blow everything on this Maokai, which doesn't die. And then we go back to that issue with Orianna, which is your burst champion. Congratulations. You did your thing. What more do you have in the tank?
Well, he's hoping that the Leandri's Anguish here is going to be something that can carry over, right? And with that burn as well, that mitigates a bit of the upfront burstiness, right? You can get a little more value out of it as the fight drags on, a little more value out of your abilities as well. Triple Merc Treads coming out from the top side of Furia. Which, look, that's fair enough. There's a lot of CC, decent magic damage. And if Titan builds this Varus anything, well, no, he won't. Not on the on-hit maybe, but I remember last game he just went AP Varus pretty shamelessly with the on-hit, getting those blight stacks. Those can be just brutal to deal with in the late game. As you see on your screen, Pain versus Loud tomorrow. We'll have that here for you. I believe it'll be Lithy and... who's on it?
It is Lithy and Hawk tomorrow.
Lithy and Hawk, there we go. So yeah, we'll have that for you. That should be a very, very exciting game. Remember, this kind of happened last playoffs as well. Pain and Loud in the upper bracket. Twice, exactly. In the upper bracket, Pain got the better of them. That was the Wiser Jax Pentakill game?
I want to say yes.
I think so. That was in the upper bracket, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Wiser Jax Pentakill did not happen in the final, I'll tell you that.
Okay, yes, that was. I should remember if it was the last split or the split before when
right.
They pulled it off.
Yeah, they blend together a little bit.
Pain just keeps winning, man. They've been in every single finals except for the one where Red won, where they got taken out by Renska. But that's tomorrow, 4x4. And after what we had last game, we do have to keep our eyes on this one because Red and Furia can get real explosive real fast. For now, though, just kind of facing off a little bit. Dragon is up. And we do see Bull take that topside turret, has TP to come down. Envy's trying to match in the bot lane, but this Orianna is a mage and doesn't have the same ability to take down a turret. Not to mention, Envy has no turret behind him, so is extended and trusting that Furia's positioning will stop Red from collapsing down.
FNB playing bodyguard in the mid lane. Red have the TP advantage. Should they want to try something here? Second or third dragon of the game, going to go over to Furia. It'll be that Hextech Soul once again. Envy throwing out the ball here. Herald goes down. Red had full control of objectives until pretty recently here. It's back-to-back dragons picked up by Furia. But Bull doing his thing on the opposite side. Yeah, that's a great trade. You will take that.
Yep, and that was the call they made, right? We'll just keep the pressure here. It's only the second Drake for Furia. We can afford to give them one Hex Tech here. And not to mention, we were talking about power spikes before the last Herald, the fact that Furia didn't have Mythics ready to go. This time they do, and I think Red make the right call. Let's go low risk, medium reward. Don't coin flip that 50-50 on the team fight yet. We probably win, but we don't know that for sure. And more importantly, we don't have time to get Titan and Scamber putting down the poke on critical members. So top inner turret goes down, which is worth more gold as well, while mid is also very, very low. And mid's going to be a critical one to see how Furia can defend this. If ever they mess up their rotations, Red can take this very quickly.
Yeah, pressure points on both sides of the map. And again, that TP, the TP is still available. It's not a TP advantage. Furia and Envy, or excuse me, FNB and Envy have theirs up. Trio went for that Bloodthirster rush, but now he's got his Mythic online here. Goot with the Sunfire doing the same here. Mythic's online at 4. Again, pretty much across the board here. That mid lane, tier 1, that's going to be the next Battleground. Battleground, absolutely. You could push the line of scrimmage so far back if you are Red. Here's we get into the waiting game a little bit. This has shades of last game in so many ways, right? Disparities in kills not necessarily being reflected in the gold, and then the towers and the dragons, and vice versa. But yeah, both these compositions feel much safer in the late game, right? There isn't this disparity that we had in games 1 and 2, where the identities and the strengths and the power points, the compositions were completely different. They're much more aligned here in game 3.
And specifically for the pace of the game. Last game at 20 minutes when we saw the stall, it was because the teams were so evenly matched that both teams were kind of scared to pull the trigger. This time I think they're waiting for their power spikes, because their power spikes are quite distinct actually, where Titan is almost about to complete his mirror mana. Trigo just hit his 2-item power spike. So right now things are equivalent. Red wants to wait for that item advantage to come through from Titan before they actually team fight. And once they do, that's when I expect Red to start making moves. Furia, on the other hand, they've got a lot of go buttons, but they don't have the nerve to push it right now. And I think they're waiting for Envy's tier item to complete, the Service Embrace, before they look for that big team fight. We've seen Envy, it's not that big 5-man shockwave just yet. It's been consistent chip damage, and that relies on Red messing up a little bit. Once they have that big shockwave, then we're watching for the Infernum Moonlight Vigil, the shockwave to cause that one huge burst of damage and maybe outright just kill Avenger, Titan, and Scamber.
Yeah, and if they're positioned a little too far forward, then that's kind of on Red, but it goes back to what you were saying about Red having to make mistakes here. They do have Goot and FNB as well, again, in that front line with hard CC in terms of the ultimates, again, especially that Glacial Prison. So it's not uber reliant on Envy, but to kind of be that secondary engage that's really going to make the fights click and just group up everybody so that Trigo can get the big ultimate down. He's going to run out of ammo on that green gun. If he can get purple-blue, I think that would be huge, but I think he'll be on purple-red. Nope, just kidding.
We got it.
Okay. Not sure how that works, but anyway.
You'd think we know the gun combinations by now, because they technically do follow a certain cycle.
Yeah.
But props to players as well, knowing how to hold guns. So that's why we get all these weird different combinations, and we're not always fully sure what we're going to see. So Trigo, he's in optimal team fight gun mode. This is not that chainsaw mode where red-white where you just cut through everybody here. But the question is, can they actually force a fight? They have all the tools. And with Gravitum especially, you can Moonlight Vigil to kick a fight off non-committally as well from Furia. Oh, here we go. 4x4. This is what I was talking about. Furia, bad back timings, a little bit sloppy the rotation, instantly lose that mid-outer. And this is actually going to make their Dragon take a little bit harder, because now Red have prio in these lanes.
Yeah, Titan says, thank you very much. That's more gold for me.
Sure, yeah.
He's on 2.5 items right now. And like you said, next Dragon, the Dragon is going to be that next Battleground. Avenger up on the top side, just making sure that lane doesn't get out of control again. He's got the TP. Both solo laners on both teams do. We've been sitting in this bit of a lull state for a few minutes here, but over the course of these few minutes, Red have just slowly opened up their gold lead. Now we're at about 5,000. We were at a little less than that beforehand. Bull, he's got himself a second item as well. FNB going with that Force of Nature. First ones to the objective are Red. Again, they have the poke to be able to do something, kind of, soften the underbellies of Furia just a little bit. But Titan, he's actually going to take a back here.
Yep. Mirror Mana should be complete, and we are on Hextech map as well, something that we kind of mentioned, but it does mean the gates are available, and you can afford to take these very, very late backs and still potentially get to the fight in time. Are Red? They're making the call for Baron?
Yeah, well, that's, I mean, they couldn't really do Dragon, right? With Titan not there, they took that back. They said, okay, well, now we got a choice to make.
Brilliant.
Now, do they turn it? Trigo not around, but neither is Bull. Doesn't matter. He does have flash ult. Gets into Mega Gnar, times the Gnar bar perfectly, but it don't think it's gonna be worth it just to get it on FNB. If he can flash over the wall, maybe get a big ultimate. Bull holding onto it, looking for the big one here, waiting for everybody to step forward. But Furia know that is a pretty telegraphed way to start a fight. If you are on the Gnar team, instead, they just go right towards the Baron, or right towards the Dragon, excuse me, and Red will do the opposite. 3 dragons for Furia, at what cost? Here we go. Trigo's got his big red-white power spike ready to roll here. Mana Moon complete. Or Muramana, excuse me. Now it's down to half HP. They are just shredding this Aegis with a very good ultimate, and it's completely gone. Red with a ballsy call, but it works out.
Okay, whoever is shot calling for Red right now, whoever called for that, and I suspect it's Aegis, was absolutely brilliant, because the first time they threatened Baron, it stops Furia from doing Dragon completely. And normally with Furia, you want to start it up and think, okay, we can kind of take this, we get the advantage on it, but because of the risk of losing Baron, they completely peeled off, and that let Red threaten back in. It bought time for Titan to get back in. The second time they do it, I'm going to be honest, I didn't think they could get Baron fast enough. I thought Furia would get Dragon and get there to contest, but it was so incredibly clean. They didn't even honestly need the Maokai ultimate to stop it. They'd have been able to take it anyways. That was just the insurance policy to make sure they get out clean. The price, of course, is soul point for Furia. So Red have to find turrets to make this worth.
Well, they're up 4-0 on that front regardless, and up almost 7,000 gold. So they're getting a lot out of this. The power play, they've already gotten 2,000 out of it. And it was that top tier 2. It was the 4th one to go down. You see the lead. It wasn't even at kind of one specific moment. That last spike you're seeing is this Baron power play right now. But again, that's what I said. There was like this 5-minute lull state where their gold lead just grew. They got just like a 2,000 off just kind of playing the neutral game very, very well.
Yeah, and it's disciplined play from Red.
Yeah.
Not something I'd expect to see, honestly, throughout all our years. Usually we're talking disciplined teams. It's like maybe Pain when they're on fire,
right.
Loud does it pretty well. But most certainly not Red. But this is slow, controlled, methodical play. Bull on that split push in the mid lane here. The rest grouping bot, pushing in, and you get to threaten the Mega Gnar flank as well.
Oh, here we go. He doesn't have the TP, but will it matter? Furia going all in here. Goot laying down the CC. FNB goes all out, but he gets zoned out of the fight, kited out. Envy able to pick up the shutdown there on Avenger, but not before the Chaos Storm from beyond the grave gets 2 for him. Titan kiting backwards, grabs himself a kill. Avenger, excuse me, it is Trigo grabbing himself a kill, but Red do come out on top, but just barely. It was a good little window that Furia saw there without Bull in the fight, and they got a little bit out of it.
Yeah, they pulled the trigger on that, and to be honest, before, it's a good call from Furia. It's also a desperate call from Furia. The setup wasn't really there. They just saw the opportunity. Okay, Bull's not here right now. Hey, looks like Avenger. It looks like Titan overstepped slightly. We can punish this, and they instantly went for it. The problem was, look at the map state before that happened. Bull takes an inner in the mid lane. FNB is so far out here that he can't really, or it wasn't FNB, pardon me. It was actually, FNB was not bot. It was actually Envy in the top side, which makes things even worse because you don't have the shockwave available there. And if they had the shockwave on that initial catch coming out from Good, I think they just win that. But because she's so late, it just doesn't work out for them. And unfortunately, it's going to bite because Baron is still there. And sure, we do realize that Titan's dead, but Bull still does 80 damage. And with that Wit's End, with that Black Cleaver, auto attacks well. So that's the inhibitor turret down on the bot side. Mid inner down for Furia, and Red, they maximized that Baron buff.
Bull level 17, and he was level 17 before that fight kicked off. He's just been doing his thing. Just the pressure that he's able to create on this Gnar, mini Gnar is the opposite side of the coin, right? Obviously, Mega Gnar, the flash ults in team fights, that's the brunt of what this champion provides. But if you can do the opposite, or just do the opposite side very well, I mean, the things you can do for your team, the wave clear that you have is not amazing, but it's good enough with the Mini Gnar, and that's exactly what he's doing with the Baron. He made the most of it with the 4-1 that Red had going. Just really, really good stuff because, yeah, they won that team fight kind of, 4-3, if you will, but that doesn't tell the whole story, right? And that's all credit to Bull.
Yeah, and now he's one of those funny champions where if you play him poorly, he's like 3/4 of a champion.
Yep.
You play him right, he's like 1.5 champion.
Yep.
And we're seeing that in the top side. 2 levels up now, Bull is winning out the matchup against FNB, and that's letting them continue to pressure in here, while the rest of Red, they just decide to set up a massive tent over at the Dragon Pit here. Furia, you're at so point. You really, really want this Drake, and it could turn the fortunes of Furia. But you can't walk in blind. That's how you throw a game. And Furia, they've got to inch their way along here while Red get full vision, get to decide, how do we want to kick this off?
Well, like you said, they've got full vision. FNB and Bull both have their TPs. It's a 4-on-4 right now. Top laner's kind of playing chicken. Going to go at the last possible second. Well, maybe not the last possible second. FNB in. Bull, when will he follow? Right now is the answer to that question. Aegis up front. IU looking for a flank. We haven't really talked about him much. He's just getting bonked. He gets nothing. Again, if you're on a shoestring budget, that's what happens. IU try to get some CC into the back line. Is it enough? Redemption down. He gets the ult down. Actually being decently disruptive. There goes the big ult from Trigo. It does a lot. And IU down, but so is Bull. Perhaps critically. FNB all out. Titan doing what he can. He is free firing in the back line, and that will be enough to turn the tide. Titan and Avenger. Trigo down. Titan from downtown taking out his opposite AD carry. Goot headed for the hills. Aegis gonna help mop it up, but it's Titan that does all the damage. He and Avenger just monstrous. You see the damage there? 5,000 for Avenger, and Envy actually did 5,000, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah, and these 5,000s are not the same.
No.
Because Envy's 5,000 is because Trico couldn't do the damage, whereas Avenger is competing with Titan for that damage there, and there just aren't enough health bars for Furia to give more over, and that means another inhibitor turret down for before, and they aren't done yet. Baron is still on the table. Last time was risky, but a brilliant play. This time, it's the safest thing around. Only IU up right now for Furia, and you ain't a jungler. You have no smite, pardon me.
Nope. And yeah, and it feels bad. Actually, I was kind of a little bit critical of the Zac pick. There, IU kind of did the best you could with that pick, right? But, and I think the question is, with that pick, would something like a Leona or a Rakan have done more, right, in this position right here? Because he just gets taken out of the fight, just taken out half his health bar immediately. He's able to be a little disruptive, but then the fight is just very one-sided.
Yeah, and again, I highlighted right before he jumped in, he had no passive. And more importantly, Furia have no way to get the damage into the fights. You can see Envy and Trigo, they're stuck at the back of it. They can't walk into this. And when it comes to range, we said before, if Aphelios can get in range, he is one of the highest DPM AD carries. But against the likes of a Varus just outranges you so much, and Titan just gets the free fire, get that poke down, get those arrows landing, whereas Trigo just, what you gonna do? And that's been the story of this game ever since Red took over. Furia, they've got all the go buttons, but even if you go, where's the damage? Can you actually get the damage into these fights? And the answer has consistently been no.
And it's not for lack of damage. Ooh, Goot not going to find his ultimate, but Titan responds immediately with one of his. The tenacity will be enough to take him out of the ultimate, to get him away kind of scot-free. But with that Baron buff, like we said, I think they still got it on 5 members here. Maybe Bull is the only one that doesn't have it. No, he still got it. Yeah, because it was after the fact. Yeah. And again, this 4-1 that they are able to set up. Bull now with a Sterex. He's going to be even tougher to take down. Going to go Mega. Red choking Furia out right now. One final team fight could do it. But with the way the Red have been playing, you wouldn't be surprised if they just settle for an inhib and an inhib tower.
Yeah, if they get the inhibitor, that's all inhibs down, double supers being spawned, and they still have Baron for another minute. Have they found the pick?
Well, they might have. The ult goes out from Aegis. IU haven't used the elastic slingshot backwards. Bull gets a hit on by one of the stretching strikes. Aegis in. The bounce back is there from FNB. Ghosts out of the fight. Goot is useless right now. He gets into the fountain, trying to make himself a little more useful. 3 lanes worth of super minions will come in eventually. Red, with that little pick, might have found a little bit of extra gas they need to put this one away. There goes IU. looking for the all-in, but he gets absolutely melted. He's got the passive, but it might not be enough. He's going to come back up to a world of hurt. The damage is just too much. They shred the towers. Red Canids not going to play with their food this time around. FNB doing what he can, but Trigo taken out of the fight. They've got nothing. Red up 2-1. How about the kids, RMC? They came to play.
Yeah, they used to be the Crush Canids.